All right, so before we start, I'd like to go through a few housekeeping notes. So this webinar is recorded. We will send the recording to all registrants by this week. If you have any questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A box and we will be sure to answer them for you. Also, if you'd like to receive the slides, please complete the feedback form and we will email the slides to you in the follow-up emails. All right, so let's begin. Basically, the topic of today is key HR issues faced by non-profit organizations. I guess everybody can agree that grappling with HR challenges has always been one of the main concerns of every organization, as well as the unprecedented COVID-19 outbreak has posed even more issues in the operation and administration of HR management, particularly for non-profit organizations facing limited resources. Hence, in this webinar, we have invited Janine Sen, Senior Executive of Shared Services from MPACT, and our COO, Chan Chu Hao, will share on how non-profit organizations can leverage on support, grants, and tech solutions to ride the storm and overcome these challenges. So we will start with Janine. The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Ivan. Yeah, give me a moment. I'll share my screen. Okay. Okay, you can see my screen, right? Right. Okay. Okay, so morning, everyone. Yeah, thanks for joining us this Tuesday morning. All right, I hope everyone has been coping well and transitioning well throughout this past year or so. Okay. Before I go into the content, all right. Okay. Right, I'll just share a bit about MPACT so that I have some context later on during the presentation. Okay, so MPACT is a social enterprise. So our mission is to bridge the capacity gap for the social organizations. So we do this through three pillars of our main work. One of which is we support the core work of organizations through technology adoption and shared services like accounting, HR. Secondly is to enhance the charities in a way that we provide advisory such as in marketing, HR, and provide the knowledge tools such as on volunteer management, right? And lastly, we empower the people in the charities through our programs such as on skills development and mentorship. Okay. All right, so today I'll be sharing two case studies, all right, so that helps everyone just to know like what were the challenges they faced and how they got about those challenges. Right. So first off, I would like to introduce this charity A, who is in the healthcare sector. So but then they provide health and social care programs for the needy elderly. Right. So back in early 2017, right, their in-house accountant was leaving their charity. So they had to decide between hiring a replacement for their accountant who covers both finance and some HR functions, or to outsource these two important roles, right? So they had to think of like, because if they have to hire a replacement, right, they have to go through some factors involved in the recruitment process, like, oh, we need to attract someone new in, and then we need to retain this talent in our organization, and everything still needs to be within budget itself, right? So the other thing they were contemplating was whether to outsource. It would be their first time outsourcing. So of course, as always, if it's your first time, you would definitely have some second doubts in place, right? So anyway, so this charity actually reached out to us, MPACT. So our MPACT team, also with our CEO, actually went down to actually sit down with their management team, like to really understand what are their needs first, right? So so apart from outsourcing their accounting and HR payroll, right, they wanted something more also in the long run. So basically it was to streamline some of their work processes, and they were also open to tapping on technology to help on this, right? So we went in and really just communicate with one another and supporting them, like what is the necessary support they need so that we are able to streamline these processes and get things successfully moving. So we actually help them in onboarding to the technology itself, such as on their accounting, HR software, and also provide training on how to use the software. so that their staff and whoever is administrating the HR modules, for example, are well equipped to use these new softwares itself. And also later on is to see whether there's any potential integration between the softwares itself so that it'll be more streamlined at the end of the day, right? So I think also recently during COVID last year, okay, just ping everyone's memory back that, there was this lockdown period whereby almost no one could go back to the office, right? So in a way, so this organization was already open to technology, so it was actually easier to transition them fully onto iBanking. So they had to stop using check payments then, right? So as not to compromise payments, especially for staff payroll itself. So the staff started receiving their payments through bank transfers, and we have to fully let them fully adopt use of soft copies, during this transition period. So yes, end of the day, we're happy to see that the change to outsourcing was well worth for them. So they had a cost savings of about 5% of their annual budget, and they managed to streamline and digitize some of their workflows, right? Which in a way we're also happy that this impacted them, because their staff are able to then focus on their mission to impact and reach out to more needy elderly at the end of the day. Okay, so now I would also like to introduce another charity, all right? So this time, this charity provides outreach programs and emotional support for female youths, right? So for them, they had a different set of HR challenges. So for them, there are no dedicated staff in the first place for finance and HR. So their core team was really just focusing on like outreach programs, educational awareness, fundraising activities, right? So whoever that was actually kind of overseeing the finance HR was double hatting at the time. So it was very, very challenging for the staff itself to be keeping up to date with different compliances from the different government organizations on payroll, income tax, as well as on the accounting standards, how to treat certain transactions and allocate funds itself. Okay, then additionally, there was some manual processes. So I give you an example for the leave application. Their staff have to fill up like the leave form, get it signed, approved by their supervisors. Supervisor hand it back to them, and then the staff would then hand over this leave form to whoever that's overseeing HR, and then end up filing that form itself. Okay, and then of course updating to the calendar if there's to inform everyone that, hey, this staff is on leave, right? So for Charity B's case, right, we also went down to see how, because in a way we need to improve their staff productivity and experience, right? So to actually improve on their staff productivity, they were also open to using technology to improve on this. So again, guided them along the way when onboarding them onto the cloud-based softwares, setting up things like their payroll, leave software, and really training their staff on how to use these modules itself, right? And also the bonus thing was after they outsourced the accounting HR softwares, their staff also was able to tap on our accountants, such that our accountant are able to advise them on different aspects, like any changes in payroll tax, for example, so that they don't need to spend the extra time actually looking up like, oh, what are the new changes that let's say CPF or MOM IRAS has rolled out. Right. Yeah, so for them, the employee experience actually improved after getting their leave module. So their employees actually uses like either on the desktop browser or the app to apply for leave. And this is all real time. So the supervisor, the HR will also know if the leave is rejected or approved, right? And whoever is handling HR can also extract out the leave reporting end of the day. So if let's say they need to track like any unutilized leave, for example. Okay, yeah. So also happy to see that they're able to, their core team is able to focus on their mission rather than juggling between all these back end work end of the day. So for Charity B also, there was also some bonus for their staff, as in a bonus learning for their staff, because for the staff to engage with us, right, I think along the way, the staff was also able to improve on, or rather get to learn on certain new changes in regulations or different accounting treatments. So in a way, it also helped in the learning development of the staff along the way. Okay, so yeah, those two were the two case studies, and yeah, some might be relatable to some of your organizations, right? I just want to just quickly summarize also, yeah, what was covered in those two case studies, right? I think yeah, regardless of countries itself, right? I think in the social sector, we're still having a challenge to attract and retain talents. All right, this is actually faced by, I think, majority of the charities in Singapore itself. All right, due to we can't match the market rate of the compensation package sometimes. So we try to follow like the NCSS salary benchmarking guideline. Yeah, to try to up this compensation package to better attract talents, right? And there's also still a perception that there's lack of development in the social sector, yeah, for staff itself, right? And also sometimes, or should I say most of the time, there's limited support resources for HR management, because usually the core team will be dedicated more to like fundraising activities, outreach programs itself, and less resources time spent on back end work itself, right? And from the second case study, right, yeah, there's still usage of hard copy documents, yeah, to go through certain processes like the leave application that I mentioned just now, right? So this actually takes time off from the staff itself to actually, it takes time, it takes off time from the staff to actually do what their core work is end of the day, right? And also the time spent for the staff to actually be keeping up to date on the regulations changes, if any, itself. And I think over the past year or so, we have been trying to adapt to work environment changes, right? So everyone has been adapting to more work from home, for example, and using technology such that our work is not disrupted end of the day itself. Okay, so all in all, yeah, I think HR challenges are inevitable. We can't escape from HR challenges in any organization, but I think also best to take a step back sometimes to actually assess what your organization actually needs. Okay, so for most charities, I know that fundraising, of course, is a priority, so that you get to raise funds to enhance your social mission end of the day. But sometimes maybe take a step back to think like, to get this fundraising campaign going, right, it might be on secondary factors such as do I have enough manpower, like enough staff and volunteers, or are they well equipped in the first place? Do I need to send them get them on some training course, or build up my volunteer management system as well in the organization, such that everyone is better equipped and better able to fulfill that fundraising campaign, so that I'm able to raise more funds to fulfill my charity's mission, right? And to get these data, right, it's also best to get feedback from the staff, because they are the ones on the ground doing the work. So they best know what is happening like in their work processes and the challenges that they face on a daily basis. And of course, importantly, it's best to also get a directive from the board and management on the long run to see how the charity wants to go about in managing your HR challenges in the organization, and whether there's an for example, like whether they want to onboard more technology to actually help out streamline some of these processes, right? And can't discount also government regulation, okay? Of course, there's always ongoing changes in the government regulation, especially in the past year itself. So, so if today because in the past 1 or 2 years or so, I think the government has also been pushing the sector also to take up like iBanking, for example, right? instead of using check payments. So your staff also will receive, you need to take into consideration that staff will need to receive your salary payments through iBanking, for example, instead of check payments, right? All right. And then most importantly, to make sure that you have available resources, right? So in terms of financial wise, of course, make sure that you have the budget to actually cover for this change in process, and also tap on available grants, right? There's also the recent technical grant that you can tap on, right? And if possible, right, have someone to actually drive this change process, right? So that there's some follow-up end of the day to making to seeing the change in the organization. So yeah, before I end off, I just also want to share there are some things that are trending. All right, so these three are actually not mutually exclusive, right? So I think we're living in a post-COVID world, so there's uncertainty, but of course we can still adapt to the changes of the day, right? So we're tapping more on use of technology, right? We are also making hybrid arrangements also to work from home. We are working from home and we're working in the workspace, right? And of course, there's a growing population in the workforce, which is the millennials, which I actually hope that more of my peers will also join the social sector itself. All right. So yeah, all in all, millennials have been using technology, or rather, they're more familiar in working with technology itself. So it'll be good to actually consider that to try to adopt more technology in your organizations and try to build up HR capability, example in the learning development in your organization end of the day, so that it enhances the employee journey and increases the staff motivation and satisfaction end of the day, right? Okay, that's all from me. Yeah, I would like to hand back to Ivan and Xiao Hao.
Yeah, thanks, Janine, for that wonderful session. Now, Chio-Hao, we'd like to invite Chio-Hao, our COO, to present this part on how to leverage on grants and technology to further improve your HR processes.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Janine. It was a very insightful case study there. I mean, as everyone kind of knows, running a company is really not easy. Try running a charity, right? I mean, that's the ultimate test. So let me try to get things started for everybody. Okay, there you go. Okay, everyone can see my deck, right? Eh? Ivan, the deck is working?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
Black bar, there's a black bar over there.
Okay.
You see that, Janine?
Okay, black bar, I think I know why. I just need to hide the... Okay, this should be better now. Is it better?
Still there. Okay, it's better now. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time this morning. Hope the last session was useful to get your, your charity working. Think about something for you guys to think about. So I think what's probably upmost on everybody's mind, I mean, the last 2 years, 1.5 years has been quite a big adjustment for everyone. Probably what's hanging on everyone's head now is like, what's going to happen after COVID, right? What's going to happen after all these chaos, mask wearing is over? Let's ask the WHO, right? So based on the Director General of WHO, Tedros, the COVID pandemic will eventually go away, but business will not be the same. And I'm going to go through a few things to get you to think about as well. Is that business will not be the same because a few things have changed. I mean, fundamentally, I think what's happening here is that there are a lot of changes that subconsciously these 2 years has conditioned the workforce, especially in a society like Singapore, to act differently. All right, we all probably figure out by now you're using a lot more Grab, you're using a lot more work from home webinars, if we were to ask this question, you're familiar with Zoom, I would say probably the audience would probably be like, 20-30% would have heard of Zoom or used Zoom before in work. But nowadays, I would say easily 80-90%. And we've gotten used to using Zoom, using webinar, using Microsoft Teams and all that, just to have some form of communication. So it has been accelerated into our culture, into our business culture, that I think the benefits of it is more obvious than ever, and I don't think this will ever go away. So business will definitely be different. And when you kind of talk about back to office, all right, everyone's thinking of back to office situation. You're all gradually coming back, but COVID is still around. So companies are adjusting. So they have to make some adjustment. They reconfigure their workspaces. They allow some employees to work more from home. They're rostering staggered hours. It's not going to be easy. So companies have now need to adjust to these new changes. Right. So this is the new normal. And unfortunately, I think after this whole pandemic experience, companies will start thinking about this. For example, dorms are already, employee dorms, foreign worker dorms are now being revamped to look at the fact that, what happens in this kind of close range quarters. People need to start thinking about that, right? You cannot let the foreign workers sleep so close to each other, being such a cramped place. They had to redesign the whole workplace. Similarly, when it comes to office dynamics, things will probably change a little bit. I mean, just in case such viruses appear again. And one of the key challenges as well is that if you don't realize it during the last 2 years, probably most of your workforce, if you go back and count, most of the workforce you see nowadays are millennials. When you talk about millennials, these are employees that was born in the 80s. If you do a rough count around your office space, your organization, you'll find that a good percentage, if not 50, I would say good, maybe even more than 50% of your workforce is actually from this era. Companies who are working between born in the 1980s, I think 85 thereabouts and above, right? So maybe 85 to 1990s. So these are the group of people that have now gone into the workforce. And what's so special about these millennials is that these millennials have a different thinking, right? They have been born in the years, they grew up with the internet. They're very comfortable with technology. iPhone was already around, MySpace, Facebook, Instagram. They live and die with these things. Nowadays, you can't even talk to a millennial through the phone. You have to WhatsApp them. They probably don't even have I realize all the phone plans nowadays, they have more data than they have phone minutes. And it was very frustrating for me, who's not a millennial, because I actually want to call more customers, call and talk to my contacts more than I want to WhatsApp them. But unfortunately, I can never get enough minutes. So that's the problem. That's what I realized about the phone plans nowadays. Like phone plans only like you got like maybe 200 minutes to call, but yet your data plan is like the 70-80 gig. So there's something wrong there. I can never find a proper phone plan for myself, right? So one of the key things about millennials itself is that the career opportunities are what drives them is no longer about purely money. What drives them is about your company culture, your organization. What does your charity mean to the world? Is it saving the planet? Is it being more green? Is it helping the elderly? Is it helping children? The bigger culture, that's one reason why these employees, I would say, would drive them to work for you. Reputation, whether a good organization will enhance their resume or hurt their resume. These are thoughts that will come in when they start applying their jobs. And one of the key things is because these millennials are more secure than ever. They have worked through a very peaceful time, right? So let's take a look at, I mean, this chart was, gathered, what's the difference between different generations. Now, if you look at the maturists, right? Maturists are people born in pre-1945 times. They're probably retired by now, right? They're very comfortably retired. And I will say that most of them are not active in the workforce anymore. Okay, in the past, they'll probably be more about getting a formal, the communication. You have to send them letters. You have to write proper letters, right? They don't like to read emails. Emails for them, it's probably very difficult to email them. They'll prefer more face-to-face meetings. Okay, and jobs, they stay for life. My parents only have one job, whereas yeah, they only work for one company the whole their life. But for me, I really changed a couple of jobs since I graduated. So that's very different nowadays, right? Now, in the baby boomers time, these are the generation that actually started to start being exposed to more technology, television, telephone, and so forth. But then the chances are these are usually in a senior management, and they're probably in a much they're probably in they're less involvement in the workforce nowadays. You probably see them in senior management, CEOs, directors, or maybe uh, in even the lower tier workforce, right? I mean, the blue collar workers. So so you see that a lot of these workforce and from the baby boomers, these are the kinds that you probably still have to probably call them up. They don't kind of use technology very well. They still prefer face-to-face meetings. So you find you have a different personality, but these are slowly will be fading over the years. The baby boomers are retiring as we speak. Next thing will be the Gen X, and Gen X, probably someone in my profile will be in. These are the ones that has gotten to the age where they're now in middle management and above, right? They've reached a career point where they're managing a team. They have already kind of like they're comfortable with technology. They've been used to emails. They're used to text messages. But I mean, they're probably not that much into Facebook or Instagram. That depends, right? So these are the area of people that will probably be still used to the traditional method, paper-based, manual-based. But what's most startling, right? I would say is this group of people, right, born in 1981 and beyond. 50% of them had just gone into the workforce, and for them, their whole life, okay, if you think about it, their whole life, they don't they've seen terrorist attack, but they've not gone into a hardship mode. I mean, the economies in the 80s have been pretty much booming consistently. The world has gotten more connected. People are flying around. They're more freedom. They're more exposed. Air tickets have been dropping the prices. So, and they live and die by digital, right? So, and these guys are more attuned to the fact that, work is defined differently for them. They're no longer like the first generation where jobs are for life. They are more looking for like, fast forward moving organizations that evolve. So you have to engage them through social media. They can do it through text. They only do through online mediums, right? And Gen Z is the group that generally it's the same thing. Is they're just coming into the workforce. They're even more advanced, but then again, the characteristics are very, very different. So if you think about the trend, right? So you in your organization itself, you're gonna get maybe 50% of millennials and 50% that is maybe the more comfortable in the old way of business, right? The manual process, people, but new ones, 50% organization, you can only deal with them without paper, right? Without written forms. So you have to understand that this is the dynamics of your workforce. It's no longer the same. You cannot, if you have, if depending on where your organization is set up, the processes that was created in Gen Z X, okay, will no longer apply to the Gen Y and Gen Z. Okay, they will have a hard time. They'll resist, and after a while, they probably will give a negative feedback about your organization. And it's very difficult to manage them if you're thinking from a Gen X perspective. So what does that mean to you as an organization? All right. Well, you have to understand that the millennials acts differently. All right. They spend a lot of time on their mobile phones. Okay. 22 hours a week, almost on a mobile phone. That's a whole day on a mobile device, right? If not more. So you think about it, they spend almost 45 days over the course of a year. That's whole one half a month, all right? Just almost 2 months worth of time on looking at a device. Whether it's productive or not, that's debatable, but generally speaking, that's the trend. So you can only their mode of communication to the world, to work, to everything else is through their mobile device. So what's the best way to engage them? All right, you have to think about that. So one thing about these new millennials as well is that this new workforce if you think about your organization today with this COVID influence, it's going to be very different. Organizations today are increasingly dispersed. Okay, the teams are immediate. You see now startups, they're probably MNCs on day one, and they're like, I've got a co-partner in Malaysia, I have a developer in India, I have my outsourced team in Philippines. You're immediately at MNC on day one. It's no longer in the past when you say you're at MNC is a big thing. But nowadays in startup, 5-man company could be from 5 different countries and could be based in 5 differently and they could work. So you have to think about the fact that the workforce now is more dispersed. It's no longer about dispersed between Jurong and Toa Payoh and Ang Mo Kio. It's dispersed like Singapore, Malaysia, JB, Indonesia, and so forth. So think about your organization that way. If you create a new organization, it's probably going to be, chances are, it's going to be very dispersed on day one. Second thing is that now with people working with Grab, working with all this gig economy, things are also very different. People feel that, you know what, there's more ways to make money than ever. And actually, after a while, uh, it's you find that job security is not that not that important. They'll feel that, you know what, if I lose this job, I could actually take on 3 or 4 gigs, and every time I gig might actually pay more than my full-time job. So you have to understand that you cannot compete with your permanent job versus another permanent job. Your permanent job could be against 3 or 4 other gig jobs, right? So you think about the fact that, or you might in fact attract more talents by offering more gig positions, part-time positions. You nowadays you sign up, let employees come. You know what? You work for 3 hours for me. That's all I need, right? I don't need an accountant to sit in my office. Maybe I could outsource it, like outsource it to MPEG to do 3 hours of work every week. It's enough for me, but I still need, and they're providing the best service, and I don't need to worry about turnover. So these are some of the ideas if you think about, right? How to split up your organization so that your roles, you don't need a full-time role just to do a role that doesn't take up full time, right? So these are things that you have to figure out how to break your organization into it. You don't need a full-time HR just because you have HR. So think about that, right? The other thing will be, with such a tech-savvy workforce, they're very used to working remotely. Everyone is starting to grow more remotely, right? So with all these factors combined, especially I would say in the social services sector, like where you are, these are already, you have already been practicing for a while, but this is actually more obvious nowadays, right? So think about that. So the question now is, your organization ready? Is your organization ready to deal with this new change? Do you think about the fact that, you know what, can I design my roles to be all gig roles? Can I design my role to be a mix between remote staff and permanent staff and in-office staff, right? Is your organization ready for that? Are your systems ready for that? These are thoughts you have to think about. So our vision as a company, just log in, is that a mobile enabled employee first approach. Now, that's our vision. And what does that mean? First of all, you have to understand that in a mobile first approach, right? Everything can be done on the mobile device. Today, if you think about it, these are some common apps that we use. These are some common apps that you see. You can use Eventbrite for event management, Just Login for payroll and leave, Evernote for notes management. These are all small little apps. There's probably an app somewhere if you've got a problem to solve, right? Think of a problem, you go search for it, you probably there's an app there. When you start putting all these systems together, you probably have a fully automated system with a very low subscription model, and then you can just pay on a monthly fee, or maybe some of them is even free. So tools are there, it's plentiful, it's very it's accessible, and it's affordable. So why aren't more companies embracing it? That is something that you have to think about. Think about it. Apps also now catering towards the gig economy. You have your Grab as an example. Some of the tools that we have seen out there, like Hubstaff, is able to keep track of how long you spend on hours, how your movement is. Are you traveling from point A to point B to deliver something? All this information could be tracked through geolocation, to be time tracked, and this information will be pumped into payroll. So there's a direct link between what you work on and what you pay on, thanks to all these new apps and tools out there in the market. Same thing with HR, right? HR now provides for us, we build an app that allows you to provide real-time information to your employees. What shift you're going to work out, how many hours have you accumulated, right? Which day are you on leave? Even there's an AI engine to make sure that you clock in and clock out, you are the same person. I cannot clock in with the mobile app and I get my friend to clock out for me just to make sure that I'm working, right? And this data is also captured. This data is matched with geolocation. That means you cannot fake a location as well. So think about this, all these HR tools are ready inside an app. So there's no excuse for you or an organization not to even automate things, a core thing like HR, and provide the mobile first experience for your employees. So let's take a look at what this looks like in the real world. So you can see the whole HR experience all on the mobile, you know. Now with all this, with attendance tracking, with all this safe entry, we also have came up with a device that does AI face recognition. So you can put it in the doorway that does use to automate your safe entry, to make sure there's an AI recognition for facial recognition. There's also allow you to do temperature taking, and all this information is connected to the cloud. So if you're transitioning your employees back to work, this might be a device that you want to consider. Now let's take a look what it looks like.
SafeClock is an all-in-one contactless temperature scanner, door access, visitor management, and employee attendance solution to help you transition your employees back to the workplace safely. Employees can clock in and out of work daily via facial recognition. The timings and temperatures are automatically captured in a split second and sent into your online portal in real time. The device detects high temperatures and will send administrators an alert via email or push notification if any employee is running a fever. SafeClock can also protect your workplace by acting as a door access. You can configure access based on registered faces, body temperature, and even detection of masks. Employees' clock timings on the device will be reflected in attendance reports to track working hours and overtime. SafeClock is also integrated back to JustLogin's full suite of HR applications, allowing you to seamlessly manage employee payroll, leave, attendance, and expenses, even when you work from home. In Singapore, you can also integrate your work premises safe entry into SafeClock. Automatically check into safe entry when you walk through the door. You can also integrate a QR code, be it for the purpose of safe entry, MySejahtera, Leave Home Safe, or any tracing system your country is using. SafeClock also works as a visitor management system for a seamless visitor experience. Visitors can simply scan a QR code to submit their safe entry information. SafeClock will then send you a push notification on your mobile app where you can easily use it to open the door for visitors remotely. The visitors' information are collected for contact tracing purposes so that you can always keep track of who visited your office. Clock in to work safely with SafeClock by Just Login. As visitor management and employee
All right, so you've seen all that, right? Well, I mean, for us, we've invested quite a bit of time to build not only just a mobile app, is to cater to the COVID situation. We also created a door access system and a visitor management system so that it's connected to your time and attendance, it's connected to your payroll, it's connected to everything else. So that way, it gives you a more seamless employee experience. Now, the best part about this is that the government is very supportive of all these new initiatives, right? And there's a lot of grants out there that companies can use today, or like yourselves, to actually adopt this technology. So I think this is a good time to evaluate. And now take a look at what a few grants available. First grant available for social service agencies is the Tech and Go grant, right? It's a new grant that's been released not too long ago. This Tech and Go grant basically has 3 categories. The Start Digital category, which is number 1, Go Digital category, and the Technical Advisory Consultancy category. Now, to talk a little bit more, under the Start Digital category, which we Just Login is actually one of the pre-approved vendors in the Start Digital category. That means you can get up to 80% cap on $30,000 worth of purchases. So we have already created some pre-packaged solution. Includes all the things you just saw, and actually we can government will cover up to 80% of it for you, right? So that is quite a big help, right? Other things to look at will be things like Go Digital or Technical Advisory. You can also reach out directly to Tech and Go, NCSS, and have them go through with you. These are the few options for more complicated and more for bigger systems that if you're thinking of implementing. Now, to embrace Tech and Go grant, you need to be a NCSS member or a selected non-member SSA endorsed by a respective government. All right. You can claim up to 80% of Just Login solution. So Just Login is a pre-approved HR MS solution under the Start Digital category. Okay, you can customize your HR package to suit what you need. And the Tech and Go funding will last for 3 years, covering out to 80% for the first year adopting, and then 50% for second and third year. So I think this is a great time to start into digitizing your solutions, or at least your platforms at the back to support your organizations. Now, in the event that you're not eligible for the NCSS grants, Touch and Go grant, you might want to consider the PSG grant, which similarly is pretty much the same thing, just applied, but this is for all companies in Singapore. As long as you fit the criteria, 80% of the grant will cover up to $30,000 per year, right? So 80% of $30,000. So that's what I'm trying to say. So this grant is available for all SMEs, and you can cover, these are the few HR categories that is supported. One will be HR resource management, which is where Just Login is. There's HR set services, and there's HR e-scheduling. So if you're looking at, if you're not eligible for Tech and Go grant, similarly, you can come into the PSG grant. Now, the difference between these 2 grants is that under the Tech and Go grant itself, there's a deadline by end of April. Okay, so Tech and Go works in such a way whereby every quarter they will approve a batch of grant applicants at once, and the most pressing deadline is actually end of this month, right? 30th of April. So once you submit application by 30th of April, they will evaluate it in May, and by June you will be able to get the grant approved and you can start implementing your solution. However, if you miss the 30th of April deadline, the next deadline is actually in end of July. So there will be a window that you'll miss. End up you have 4 months before you can implement anything, right? Because by the time July happens, it'll be August for review and probably September for approval. So by September, then you probably can implement anything. So I'll urge you, if you're looking to look into these grants, especially for the Tango grant, please make sure that you evaluate quickly. You can make a decision before end of this month. You could potentially have your solution by June. So do consider that, right? Now for the PSG grant itself, there's no time limit. I mean, you can apply any time, but it is for more for the commercial sector. And there'll be some things like shareholding requirement. There will be, registered operating in Singapore. So there's a different set of criteria be applied for the SMEs in Singapore. Okay. So just a quick poll to everybody. If you're interested, please feel free to answer the following question. Find out more. We will, find out more, and we will actually contact you to help you through the grants if you need, and to provide you more information on that. All right. So I'll just give you one more minute to reply, and then we can close off the poll. Okay, we'll close off the poll now. So if you're interested, alternatively, you can drop us an email at this following email address or phone. You can call us directly to have a chat with us, and we will, we will definitely help you along. If you're interested in grant, we can help you along the grant process. If you're interested to find out what you heard about today from our solution, you can also approach us directly, and we'll love to help you through this journey. So with this, I thank you for your time this morning. Hope it was a useful session that got you thinking about some areas. Do consider the fact that hopefully when this COVID is over, it's going to be a new day. And I will hope that everyone through this journey will come out a lot stronger in the end. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chu Hao, and also Janine as well for both your presentation. It was certainly very insightful. So if you would like to basically schedule a call with one of our consultants, please feel free to scan the QR code and you'll be redirected to our website. If you like the feedback, if you like the slides after this webinar, please help us to fill up the feedback form at the link in the chat box. And then, then we will send you the slides by this week. Yeah, so does anybody have any questions for our panelists? Please feel free to type it in the Q&A box.
Yeah, so there's a Q&A box at the bottom. Feel free to put your comments in there if you have any questions that we not covered today.
Yeah. So just give a minute more for people a chance to answer the questions. If not, then we can just close the session in a minute time. All right, okay. I guess, no questions, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Emily. Yeah, we'll be sure to contact you. I'm interested to know more about Just Log In. All right. So if there's no more questions, then I would like once again to thank our panelists, Janine from Impact and Chu Hao.
All right.
Presentation. So we will end the session right now. Yeah. And thank you very much for your time. See you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.